The war did not begin with gunfire for Thomas Hale. It began with silence. The kind of silence that settles into a house when a decision has already been made. On the morning he left, the sky above Riverton was pale and undecided, as if even the sun was unsure whether to rise. Thomas stood in the doorway, his coat too thin, his bag too light. He had packed only what was required, no more, no less, because excess felt like temptation. Behind him, Eleanor folded a letter she had not finished writing. "You'll send one when you arrive," she said, trying to sound certain. Thomas nodded. Promises were fragile things now. Outside, boots echoed on stone. Men gathered. Mothers watched. Children did not yet understand that memory could hurt. Thomas kissed Eleanor's forehead, not her lips. Some goodbyes asked too much if they lingered. When he walked away, Eleanor did not follow him to the road. She stayed in the doorway, holding the unfinished letter, listening until his footsteps were swallowed by distance. The war took Thomas east, through forests stripped bare by artillery and towns reduced to geometry, straight lines where streets had been, piles where houses once stood. He became a signal operator, a quiet role meant for men who listened more than they spoke. He learned to recognize meaning in pauses, danger in static, hope in the smallest response. At night, he wrote. Not letters to send, those were censored, delayed, or lost, but letters to remember. He wrote by candlelight in the trenches, shielding the flame with his hand, his words small and careful. Dear Eleanor, today the sky was the color of ash, but the birds still flew. I thought of your garden and wondered if the roses survived the frost. He folded each letter and placed it in a tin box buried beneath his bunk. He told himself he would give them to her all at once when the war was finished and words were safe again. Back in Riverton, Eleanor turned Thomas's absence into routine. She opened the shop every morning at the same hour. She swept the floor twice a day. She kept the lamp lit at night, even during blackouts, covering it carefully so only a thread of light escaped. Neighbors warned her. Someone might see. Let them, Eleanor replied. It's not for them. Letters arrived sporadically, short, official, hollow. Alive, moved location, no further details. Eleanor learned to read between lines that were never written. Every Sunday evening, she walked to the hill beyond the town where the road curved out of sight. She stood there until the air cooled and the stars appeared, believing, without logic, that standing in the same place might shorten the distance between them. The winter of the third year was the hardest. Supplies ran low, news ran out. The war became a rumor told in fragments. One night, the bombing came closer than ever before. Eleanor was in the cellar when the explosion shook the house. Dust fell like snow. Glass shattered above her. For a moment, the world held its breath. When the noise passed, Eleanor climbed the stairs slowly, afraid of what she might find. The front room was damaged but standing. The lamp had fallen, but it was still burning. She picked it up with shaking hands and laughed, then cried, then sat on the floor until morning came. At the front, Thomas was wounded during a night operation. The pain came late. First there was heat, then weakness, then darkness. He woke in a field hospital with bandages and unfamiliar ceilings. The tin box beneath his bunk was gone. For the first time since the war began, Thomas panicked, not because of his injury, but because the letters were lost. Weeks passed. He healed slowly. The war shifted again. One evening, a nurse approached him quietly. "Someone left this," she said, handing him a dented tin box. Thomas opened it with trembling hands. Every letter was still there. The war ended not with celebration, but with exhaustion. Men returned in pieces, some whole, some broken, some only remembered. Thomas arrived in Riverton at dawn, walking the final miles because the train tracks were damaged. The town looked smaller, quieter, older. He stopped before his house, uncertain. War had taught him that hope could be dangerous if handled carelessly. The door opened before he knocked. Eleanor stood there, thinner, older, real. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Thomas held out the tin box. "I wrote," he said simply. Eleanor took it, her hands steady. "I kept the light on," she replied. They stood in the doorway as the morning light filled the street. Behind them, the house exhaled. The war was over.